and welcome to the first horror review. What we're going to be doing here is taking a look at all things horror. Now that could be a movie, a TV show, a book, or even a horror comic. We'll be having a look at what makes them good or what makes them bad, and whether or not there's something you should spend your time on. Now I promise you, everything we review here is going to be completely spoiler free, so there's absolutely no worries. So let's get started. Today we're going to be looking at The Banishing. It's a horror movie that came out last year, 2020. I'm going to start by reading the blurb, if you like, for it, the synopsis, and then we'll take a look at what I actually thought of the movie. So it says here, the story of the most haunted house in England. Set in the 1930s, a young reverend, his wife and daughter moving to a manor with a horrifying past. Now, it's actually set at Borley Rectory. So I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but if you're here in the UK, you may have done so because it is the most haunted house in England. It was actually investigated by the parapsychologist Harry Price. There has been a lot of ifs, ands, or buts whether or not it's real, because a lot of people have said that they made up their claims about the Borley Rectory. But there are so many ghosts there that it is held to be the most haunted house in Britain. So it's a brilliant start to a horror movie. We've got the most haunted house, which is, it's fantastic. Now, a little bit about the film itself. So it's a Shudder original. I don't know if you've heard of Shudder. I have a Shudder subscription myself. It's a brilliant place to go for horrors. A lot of the horrors are old horrors or B-movie horrors, but I do like the odd B-movie. They're quite fun. So it's a Shudder original. It isn't currently showing on Shudder. I think that's because it's so new, so you actually have to rent it. I rented it for $2.99 from Sky, but it is also available to rent through Amazon, so you should be able to find it somewhere. It was directed by Christopher Smith. Now, if you don't recognise the name, Christopher Smith has done quite a lot of things. Just off the top of my head, 3 things he's done is Creep. I probably will take a look at that with you in a couple of episodes. A series on Sky called Curfew, which if you haven't seen it and you have access to Sky, do take a look at Curfew. I would always say that because it's got Sean Bean in and I'm a huge Sean Bean fan. But Curfew is a really good series. And Black Death, which I am definitely going to review for you, possibly on the next one. Please don't mind Derpy. She's my little cat and she watches all the horrors with me, so she's here to give her opinion as well. So Christopher Smith is actually a really good director, and he has his style of directing is very, very much on the dramatic side. So he's one of those directors that try and put you in the scene, which I think is really nice because it brings the story a bit more to life for you, which I think sometimes is absolutely amazing. In the film, we've got Jessica Brown Findlay. Now, 2 notable things she's been in is Downton Abbey. If you watch Downton Abbey at all, she played Lady Sybil. And she was also in Victor Frankenstein, which is a really good film as well. We've got John Lynch in it, who is also in Black Death. Now, we'll definitely be looking at that later, like I said. But if you haven't seen Black Death, he was also in Tin Star and The Secret Garden. We've also got Sean Harris. Now, Sean Harris, I think, is another one of my big favourites when it comes to acting. He's really amazing. If I see his name in a film, I know that I'm going to be drawn to him straight away. So he's been in a lot of the Mission Impossibles. He was Micheletto in the Borgias. So if you've seen the Borgias series with Jeremy Irons, he played Micheletto in that. And he's also been in Prometheus. And finally, we've also got John Hoffman, who is in Collateral, Ripper Street, and The Crown. So we've got quite a good cast there. They're really good names, and we know that their acting style is really good. So that's a really good setup for this movie. Now, onto the movie itself. My feelings on it, I will be honest with you, are completely mixed. So the one thing I will give it straight away is it held me and I was intrigued and I couldn't wait to see where it was going. I was enthralled. I really wanted to get to the next part of the story and then the next part of the story, and I wanted to know what was happening. I was desperate to know. It leads you through the story. There are turns to it. You get confused. You get annoyed with characters, and I think that's brilliant in a film. It should be able to hold your interest like that. For me, it fell down a little bit on the ending, but that's because I like an ending. I like to know, whereas this film leaves you with and without trying to give you any spoilers, you go, why them? What was so important about that? And if you watch it, you will see exactly what I mean. Now, this film is set in the 1930s. It's actually in the run-up to the war. So there is a lot of that running through it as well. And I think that is a big undercurrent that goes through the movie. That the feeling of oppression within the house and the horrors within the house are actually being a sort of a mimicry of what's going on in Nazi-occupied Germany at the time. So I think that was a really good thing to bring in. It really felt like it built the tension a bit more. So that was really, really good. But again, I watched it with my family and we all had a chat around it afterwards, what we thought. My dad was on the same page as me, absolutely loved the film. My mum and my sister, not so much. I think it was a little too unsure for them. They like something a bit more linear. So if you are looking for a really linear story that takes you through it step by step, that you don't have to stop and think about, this probably isn't the movie for you. But if you like something that's a bit more intrigue, a bit more mystery, and something where you don't necessarily get a resolution, then you're going to love this one. The acting in it is superb. They sell it to you, and the main character in it, the female character, I felt like I bonded with her straight away, and I was worried about her. I wanted her to do well, and I think that's really important. You need to connect with a character, so that was lovely. Overall, for me, I would probably give this film a 6 out of 10, purely because of the ending. I'm really glad I watched it, but I don't think I'd watch it again. Now, I did double check on Rotten Tomatoes, and at the moment it's only got 15 reviews on Rotten Tomatoes and it's coming up at a 67%. So that seems to tally with how I feel, and I think it is all to do with the ending. But I think what you'd have to remember going into this film is it's an old-fashioned ghost story. So, you see those films where they sit around the campfire and tell ghost stories to each other. That's what this is, because that's what Borley Rectory is. It's an old-fashioned ghost story. So you're not going to get all of the usual traps of horror. You're not going to get all of the blood and gore. You're not going to get monsters jumping out of the walls, because of what it is. It's a story that you've got to follow and you've got to think about. Yes, there are jump scares, but it's more psychological than anything. It's supposed to make you think, and it's supposed to take you with it. So if you're looking for a creature feature or a slasher movie, this isn't the right one for you. But if you enjoy things like The Woman in Black, you're probably going to like this one, because it does the same sort of thing. It takes you slowly through the story. So yeah, like I said, probably a 6 out of 10 for me. Really good film. I probably won't watch it again, at least not for a long time. But the acting in it is fantastic. The directing is brilliant. And the story itself is really good. I just wish we'd had a bit more of an ending. So that's my review. Now, if you enjoyed my review and if you want to hear more of Derpy's thoughts on films or books, join us on Friday when I'll be reviewing something new for you. Also, if you have anything you'd like me to take a look at and review, let me know, because I'm always open for suggestions. Until then, stay safe and enjoy scaring yourself. Bye!